"This stays between us," he whispered, sliding an NDA across the glass table like it was a gift. The projector hummed, the skyline bounced off the window, and the coffee smelled too fresh for what he was asking. I'm telling this because I froze, and I hate that I froze. And that was the moment I knew. And I'm 25, an executive assistant in a Los Angeles startup that thinks a neon sign equals culture and a stocked fridge equals ethics. By day, I color code calendars and run investor decks. By night, I run a private creator page that pays my actual bills. No romance, no scandal, just control over my time. That dual life kept me afloat. It also kept me quiet. It only got worse from there. NNHE started the slow mentor routine right after I nailed an all-hands deck. "You have potential," he said, standing too close, citrus cologne fighting the burnt espresso in the air. The first red flag wasn't the compliment. It was the calendar invite called Career Acceleration Confidential. He booked the small conference room with the cold glass table, door half shut, projector humming like a white noise machine. He said my name soft then, "This is for your own good." I laughed because I thought he meant a promotion. I was wrong, and I felt it in my teeth. And that's when it clicked for me. NNHE slid the folder across, NDA on top, a confidential engagement contract beneath. The language was vague, but the pattern was loud. Exclusivity, availability after hours, and a line about gifts may be offered at manager discretion. My stomach went carbonated. I asked if legal had seen it. He smiled like he owned legal. "Don't overthink. Without me, you'd still be nobody." He said it like a fact, not a threat. My hands stayed flat on the table because they were shaking. That was the moment I knew. And I tried to reset back to normal assistant mode. I asked about the Q3 timeline, the investor one-pager, the keynote. He waved it off and pointed to the NDA. "It protects us both," he said. The projector fan got louder, or maybe my pulse did. Outside, the floor buzzed. Slack pings, a courier cart. Someone laughing near the kombucha tap. He lowered his voice. "It's simple. You'll be taken care of." He called it a discreet mentorship. Like a LinkedIn badge you earn for silence. Be honest. What would you do? Here's the part he didn't know. My private page pulls in around $200,000 a month on a good run. I don't flaunt it at work. I pay my taxes. I help my sister with rent. I keep receipts. I wasn't interested in any boss romance trope or CEO affair scandal rumor. But hearing him sell protection made my skin go cold. I don't need his protection. I need a safe workplace. And that was the line for me. NNTHE joke landed Monday. During stand-up, he did the fake casual thing and said, "Some people here earn extra credit after hours." A few chuckles. A few looks at me because I manage his calendar. My face went hot. My back went rigid against the mesh chair. The neon sign said, "Hustle harder," as if it were on his side. I stared at the empty spot on the glass table where the NDA had been, and my phone face down with the creator app hidden in a folder called Utilities. That was the moment the air felt thin, and I told myself not to make a scene. I counted breaths. I thought about Starbucks runs and board decks and staying employable in this city. Then he said, "We'll sync later, just us," with that same whisper from the conference room. The room kept moving. I finally stopped. Forbidden workplace drama doesn't end pretty, but it does leave a trail. After that meeting, I couldn't hear the sound of the projector anymore without feeling my pulse spike. Every click, every low hum, it all felt like that moment frozen in time. That contract on the glass table, his hand sliding it closer like a secret handshake. NNTHAT night, I went home to my tiny apartment in West Hollywood and stared at my laptop screen. I didn't even open the OnlyFans tab. I just sat there, replaying every word. "Without me, you'd still be nobody." It looped like background noise. I thought I was overreacting. Maybe I misunderstood. But the next morning proved I didn't. When I got to the office, there was a sticky note on my monitor. "See me before the all hands." Signed with his initials. No explanation. No subject line. Just control. NNHE smiled when I walked in. "Did you think about the offer?" I asked what offer he meant. He laughed. "The mentorship, of course." "Don't be shy." NNTHAT was when I realized it wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a system. He'd done this before. The way he spoke, like he'd rehearsed it. And I tried to keep it professional. I'm not comfortable with non-standard agreements, I said. He leaned back, folded his hands, and said, then maybe you're not cut out for this level. NTHAT1 stung. Because I am good. I built 3 investor decks, cleaned up a mess of budgets, and pulled 2 all-nighters fixing his mistakes before a client pitch. But in that room, none of it mattered. And that's when I decided, I'm keeping everything. Every email, every Slack message, every weird check-in invite he sent after hours. NNTHAT was the moment I knew. NNBY the next week, the tension got physical. I mean literally. I could feel it in my shoulders, in the pit of my stomach. I'd walk past his office, and he'd lower his voice mid-call. He started complimenting me in front of others, with that fake generosity that's really a warning. She's loyal, he'd say. We have an understanding. NNTHAT word. Understanding made my skin crawl. During a team lunch, he told a story about young women in tech who don't appreciate mentorship. Everyone laughed. I kept my head down, pretending to scroll through my phone. But my hands were shaking. The smell of grilled shrimp and lemon oil from the salad made me nauseous. NNTHAT was when my coworker, Dana from IT, looked at me and mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded. But inside, I was screaming. After lunch, she messaged me on Slack. NN, if you ever need to talk, I know what you're dealing with. NNTHAT line stopped me cold. She knew. I didn't even have to say it. NNTHE next day, I asked her what she meant. She told me quietly, over coffee in the break room, that he'd tried the same routine with another assistant last year. That woman left quietly, with an NDAN. That's when my fear turned into anger. And not the panicky kind. The quiet, organized kind. NNWE spent an entire afternoon digging. Dana showed me how to check the metadata of the file he'd sent me, the mentorship contract. The name in the doc property said SB_prototype_V2, NNSB. Sugar baby, NNI almost laughed. The absurdity was unreal. Dana looked at me and said, you know, you could end him with this. NNTHAT was the moment I knew I wasn't alone anymore. NNTHAT night. I backed up everything. Screenshots, Slack exports, emails with timestamps. The air in my apartment smelled like instant ramen and printer paper. I sat cross-legged on the floor, watching the progress bar on my external hard drive fill up. Every little sound, the click of the mouse, the fan on my laptop, felt like justice loading. NNFOR the first time in weeks. I slept without shaking, and when I woke up, I knew what my next move would be. I woke up that morning and made the strongest coffee my cheap machine could handle. The smell of burnt espresso filled the kitchen. My cat meowed like he sensed something big was coming. And maybe he was right, because I'd decided I wasn't going to be quiet anymore. I walked into the office like nothing had changed, but everything had. My phone was in record mode, tucked in my blazer pocket. My email drafts were loaded with evidence, ready to send. My heartbeat synced with the hum of the air conditioner. It was like my body was waiting for war. NNHE called me into his office at 10:14 a.m. sharp. "Close the door," he said. Same tone, same cold grin. The glass walls reflected the city skyline, but it felt like a cage. "You've been distant lately," he said. "I thought we had an understanding." NNNTHAT word again. Understanding. And I said, "I've been busy." NHE smiled. "Don't lie, you're not that busy." Then he slid his laptop toward me. On the screen, our supposed mentorship agreement. Just sign it. It's symbolic," he said. "We don't have to tell HR. It's cleaner this way." I looked at the screen, then at him. I swear, I could hear the hum of the projector start again in my head. I almost laughed, because the same man who thought he controlled my paycheck didn't even know I made his annual salary every month from a platform he'd never dare mention in public. NNTHAT was the moment I knew. NNHE leaned in and whispered, "Don't make me regret mentoring you." I said, "You already should," and I walked out. And at lunch, I told Dana everything. Every word. Every whisper. She didn't even blink. Just asked if I wanted her to trace the Slack backups through the internal audit system. I nodded. She smiled like she'd been waiting for this. NNWE met after hours. Empty office, city lights flickering through the blinds. The room smelled like cold coffee and toner. Dana opened her laptop. He's been messaging 3 other employees with similar language, she said. We can pull the timestamps. NSHE turned the screen toward me. There it was, his DMs. The same phrases, this stays between us. It's for your own good. You're special. Copy. Paste. Control. I took a deep breath. The sound of the air vent filled the silence between us. We send this to HR, I said. NSHE shook her head. Not yet. We go to legal. They can't bury it if it's already on record. NNTHAT was the plan. Quiet. Precise. No warning. And I remember staring at the NDA folder he'd given me weeks ago, still in my drawer. I placed it next to my phone on the table. 2 symbols. His silence and my freedom. For a second, I thought about how many women before me had signed and disappeared. It made my hand shake again, but not from fear. From adrenaline.nnthe next morning, I requested a private meeting with HR. They smiled too wide, the kind of smile that says, we already know, but we won't say it. I didn't care. I handed them a flash drive and said, you'll want to look at this. They blinked. What's this regarding? Ethics, I said. And employment law. And that was it. The shift. The point of no return. I walked out of that room lighter, even though my chest was pounding. My phone buzzed with a Slack message from him. And then, we need to talk. Urgent. I didn't reply. Not then. Not ever again. That afternoon, everything felt off. The office was quieter than usual. Too quiet. The hum of the AC was the only thing filling the space. Even the espresso machine sounded distant. Everyone kept typing, but no one looked at me. That's when I knew something was brewing. NNBY 3 p.m. He was pacing in his office. I could see the reflection in the glass, his hand slicing the air as he argued on the phone. Then my Slack pinged again. NN, you went to HR. That's a mistake. Another message followed. You have no idea what you're starting. NMY heart rate didn't even spike this time. I screenshotted everything. At 4:17, HR sent a calendar invite. Follow-up on reported conduct. My stomach twisted. The invite had his name too. NNSO. Yeah, this was it. NNWE met in the large conference room, the one with the wall-sized screen and the cold humming projector that seemed to follow me everywhere. HR sat stiff with legal pads and coffee cups. He came in late, smirking, wearing his perfect white shirt like armor. NNHE started before they could speak. This is absurd, he said. She's emotional. She's misinterpreting mentorship. NHE turned to me. You're too sensitive. You always have been. NNTHAT line. That exact line. I almost laughed out loud. NNHR asked me to present my evidence. I slid the flash drive across the table. The sound of plastic on glass was the loudest thing in the room. They opened the folder on screen. His messages filled the projector wall. Slack logs, email drafts, private mentorship templates. Every phrase that made my skin crawl was now in black and white, 10 feet wide. NNHE went pale. HR didn't say a word. One of the lawyers just whispered, "Oh my God." And I didn't speak, I didn't need to. The silence did the work. NNTHAT was the moment I knew it was over. NNHE tried to backpedal, said the files were taken out of context, said it was a misunderstanding, said he was protecting young talent. I finally looked at him and said, "You keep using that word, protection." But it was never about that. It was control. NNTHE room stayed dead silent. Then, the lawyer closed her laptop and said, "We're suspending you pending investigation." NHE stood up fast. "This is ridiculous." His voice cracked. Just slightly. "You can't?" NBUT, they already could. NHE stormed out, the sound of his footsteps echoing across the polished floor. HR looked at me and said, "We'll be in touch." I walked back to my desk. Everyone pretended not to notice, but I felt every glance. Dana messaged me. "Nen." I saw his face. "You did it." NNTHAT was the moment I finally breathed. NNTHAT night, I sat on my balcony with my laptop. The city lights blinked below, and my inbox filled with unread messages from HR, legal, and a few colleagues thanking me for speaking up. It was surreal. The same people who used to ignore me in meetings now wanted to talk privately. And I wasn't a hero. I was just tired of being scared. NNTHE next morning, I opened my creator dashboard. Payout notification, $211, $458. The irony almost made me choke on my coffee. I made more in a month than he made in a year. The same man who said, "Without me, you're nobody." NNTHAT was the moment I laughed. A real one this time. When HR called back later, they told me he'd been placed on indefinite leave, pending external investigation, which in corporate language means he's done. NNTHE projector light might have gone out in that meeting, but the truth stayed lit. It's been 6 months since that day, and sometimes I still hear the sound of the projector starting up when I close my eyes. It's weird, the things that stick, the hum, the coffee smell, the click of the glass folder on the table. But now those sounds mean something different. They don't trigger me. They remind me that I walked out. After his indefinite leave, the company tried to play cleanup. HR sent company-wide emails about new mentorship guidelines. Legal called it a cultural reset. They even brought in consultants for a workshop called Power and Boundaries in Leadership. The irony was painful. People whispered, of course. Some called me brave. Some called me dramatic. A few probably called me worse. I stopped caring halfway through the second week. That was the moment I realized, reputation doesn't matter when you have receipts. And I took my severance. I didn't fight it. I didn't need to. I wasn't angry anymore. Just done. I cleared my desk, left the NDA folder right where it had been the first day he slid it over. Symbolic, I guess. Like returning the weapon to the crime scene. And Dana hugged me before I left. She said, "You know, you changed the culture here." And I smiled. Then let them live with it. And that was that. Now I freelance. I consult for startups who actually want transparency. I run my platform openly under my real name. I talk about autonomy, about money, about fear. And sometimes, when I tell that story, people still ask, "Weren't you scared to go against him?" I was terrified. Every second of it. But being scared didn't mean I was wrong. That was the lesson I didn't expect. A few weeks ago, I got an email from a woman I'd never met. The subject line said, "Thank you for making it easier for us to say no, NNO explanation." No signature, just that. I sat there staring at the screen, thinking, maybe that's all justice really is, making it easier for the next person to walk away sooner. And yeah, sometimes I wonder if he ever thinks about it. If he still tells himself he was misunderstood. Or if he finally realizes that mentorship isn't control. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe people like that never do. NNBUT every time I remember that meeting. His voice saying, "You're too sensitive," and the room full of silence after. I smile. Because I didn't shout. I didn't threaten. I just showed the truth. And that was enough. There's this moment I keep coming back to. Right after HR called to confirm he was officially gone, I was sitting in a cafe downtown. Sunlight hit the table, reflecting off my phone screen. A new message popped up. Payment notification, 6 figures again. The barista was playing a lo-fi remix of something soft, and I realized I felt free. Not powerful, just free. NNTHAT was the moment I knew. Power isn't money, or titles, or attention. It's choice, the ability to walk away and not look back. And I keep that NDA folder now, tucked in a drawer in my apartment. A reminder of what silence costs. A symbol of the cage he built and the key I found. Sometimes I open it just to feel the weight of the paper, cold and slick under my fingers. Then I close it again, because I don't need it anymore. And I told this story because somewhere out there, someone's sitting across a table, hearing the same whisper. This stays between us. NIF, that's you. Don't sign it. NNBE honest. What would you have done?